For the Church to go out means that it must not isolate itself, but rather seek to change the realities of the world. This change starts by changing oneself. Thomas Wee, responsible for 3 hotels in Singapore, was aware of this need for inner transformation.
I was a boxer fighter, and then one day when I reached home drunk, so my mother stepped on my back and said, "You have been drinking every night, you better get out of the house. My life is bad. Gambling and all sorts of things, I think, more vices I had." Then I realized that there is a great difference between my life and the poor here. So I decided to change. There is something that is calling me to do something and give up my life. So eventually I went back to the hotel in Indonesia and then sold the hotel one by one. I had 3 hotels. With that money, I run the orphanage here. I follow all these saying of St Josemaria. My mission here is to feed and educate the orphans, and also to help the poor and elderly people in the village of Lalakan.
They do them homework.
Today, Thomas devotes his life to fundraising and promoting the good of the 25 former street children who now have a home.
I slept anywhere. I had a home, but I preferred not to go there because there was no electricity, hot water, or food. Thanks for helping me, taking care of me.
You serve your brothers and sisters of mankind when you seek their spiritual as well as material well-being. If each one of us makes a bit of effort, peace, tranquility, and serenity will come to this mixed-up world.
According to UNESCO, there are 150 million children who live on the street. Instead of looking the other way, Thomas Wee, at the age of 70, took charge because of his dream of a future for these children.
These children, I give them the best education. Everyone is going to school, and they have a tuition.
Maria worked in Thomas's country in Singapore. When she learned of his new work, she quit her job and took charge of educating these boys.
To give them more education. I hope we can bring them to study until college.
Thomas set up a room for potential donors who want to help. He asks for a contribution to help cover the costs of lodging in order to be able to welcome those who want to be there, while also covering expenses. No matter the person's creed, what really matters is having a big heart.
I'm not a non-Christian. I believe anybody, regardless of race or religion, can do some charity work. I feel that they hunger for love. You see, when it comes to Uncle Peter, then they want us to hug them and so on. You know?
People who have murdered, kidnapped, or violently robbed end up in the Pedregal Maximum Security Prison in Medellin, Colombia. Oscar is the father of a family who decided to help the inmates. He formed the Voluntariado Caminos, which currently has 60 volunteers who accompany the inmates and offer them medical and dental services.
In the beginning, it was not easy. Going to a jail the first time is difficult, but then it leaves you with a positive impression, and once you start visiting, you do not want to stop.
The prisoners do not see the light of day. There are 400 prisoners kept in pavilions with a capacity for 200. They have nothing to do, and they do not have workshops or a healthcare system.
It is paradoxical. In the midst of the overcrowding of these jails, there's a lot of loneliness. For them, it is very pleasant to find there are people willing to accompany them for a moment in their place of seclusion. That is exactly what we try to do.
Duvan is an insulin-dependent diabetic, and while waiting for a change of jail due to his need for medical attention, he is treated and medicated thanks to the help of the volunteers.
Here, we do not have access to doctors or medicine, even for a person like myself who has a terminal illness. For us, the sick, it is very important that they come to visit so that people realize our situation. The love that they give us with all of their hearts and with all their desire. They have a great influence in helping us to go out, rediscover our place in society, and be good people. Prisoners in Colombia barely go out, for they are stigmatized, and no business wants to hire them. And being rejected, it is more likely they will take up again the life of crime, of armed violence. More help is needed. When they give us love, that is what we are going to offer on the streets.
If they are children of God, and I am a daughter of God, that makes us brothers, and so we have to be concerned about them.
The Church teaches us to visit the imprisoned, looking at them as humans. Only compassion can change the heart and make a person reintegrate into society. Loving only those who love us is not enough. To change the world, it is necessary to do good for those who can't give us anything in return, like God the Father did by giving us to Jesus.
Luis Mario, a plastic surgeon, dedicates some of his time to treating people with insufficient financial resources who have suffered deformations.
The only specialized doctor capable of treating burn victims is a plastic surgeon.
To be imitators of Christ, when facing the sick or needy, we mustn't be afraid of looking them in the eye and getting close with affection and compassion, of touching them and hugging them.
I was left in a coma for 16 days. He helped me to be able to walk again normally.
After we received negative responses from various doctors, a doctor told us about Dr. Mario. It was very important because she was very mentally debilitated, very sad.
Foi muito importante naquela época, a gente estava muito debilitado mentalmente.
Nós estávamos muito tristes com o que aconteceu com a Maria Vitória.
Dos aspectos é isso. O médico.
The success of every operation gives those people more hope that manifests itself in their daily lives.
Estou presente no dia a dia de ninguém.
Now we're happy because we see that our daughter is perfect. She walks and is independent.
Mas com a ajuda dele,
thanks to his help, I'm independent.
Quando ela era bebezinha, ela tinha.
When she was an infant, the house caught on fire, and she was still inside. Most people made it out, but not her.
Ele era maiorzinho, ele conseguiu sair, e ela não. Quando eu a vi.
When I saw her, I was in desperation because I didn't think it would be so serious. She was 4 months old, but the swelling made her look like 9 months old.
Compassion is giving my heart for another person. I help someone else because I understand him or her. It comes from inside the heart. It's communication between hearts. It's not pity. It's not pity. It's not, oh, look at this poor person. He or she is suffering. No, it's helping, understanding the person and helping him or her.
Não. É ajudar, ter misericórdia, entender o outro e ajudar.
Dr. Luis Mario has a team of people who, voluntarily, decide to assist his work, completely free of charge.
Sempre, sempre aceita.
Everyone always accepts, especially the youngest. You call them, and they come. Even surgeon colleagues with 15 or 20 years of experience, they come right away.
15, 20 anos de formado, que já são cirurgiões e tudo, que prontamente vêm. Eu, como cirurgião, o cirurgião
I'm a surgeon, a serious one, I'd say, but with a team that continues to work. 12 hands, 6 surgeons, at the same time, all volunteers.
6 cirurgiões em torno de uma criança trabalhando ao mesmo tempo. Todos voluntários.
They're not only doctors. There are nurses, secretaries. Every person burn victims pass by throughout the whole process help them with pleasure.
As pessoas têm muito prazer em ajudar.
Ela já fala, vou falar pro Dr. Josemaria, tá acontecendo isso.
She talks before she didn't.
Pra gente foi presente.
It was like the presence of God Himself. He put someone here because nothing happens by chance.
Certinho, assim, Deus faz tudo certo. Ele não desamparou ela em momento algum.
He's in every sick person. It's an encounter of Jesus Christ with Jesus Christ.
É um encontro de Jesus Cristo com Jesus Cristo.
I know He is there and in me. God our Lord makes us live charity, huh? We love each other for the love of Jesus Christ, for the love of the church, for the love of all creatures. We want to do good to all.
Thousands of refugees arrive in Europe each month fleeing from poverty and war. This is a social and political challenge. The organizations involved in these refugees' reception find housing for them and dedicate time to feeding them and educating the youngest ones. The refugees arrive without knowing the language or where they are going. That is where the effort of Christians committed to social work becomes important. Marlene, who is Syrian, goes to train stations to welcome them and guide them to find suitable shelter.
I'm from Syria, and I came here with my husband because of the United Nations. While I was here, I saw what happened in my country and what it went through, and that upsets me a lot because I felt I couldn't do anything to help my country. So therefore I started going to the main station in Vienna, and when the refugees arrived, we were helping them to go, to see the doctor there and to give them food and shelter. So this gave me a lot of happiness because I felt I was able to do something to these people, no matter how small it was.
Gordian, the father of an Austrian family, has gone even further. He invites them into his own home. He shares his table, as well as his time, along with his wife and family. It is a brave, risky endeavor. Imad was forced into exile from Syria because of terrorist violence. He fled with his wife and 3 children. Every minute, 24 people like him escape from war and poverty. There are now more than 60 million people who have been forced to leave their homes throughout the world. In Imad's case, what they did to Fardi, his brother-in-law's brother, was decisive.
Fardi was my brother-in-law's brother. Fardi was in a town, a Christian town, and there were also Islamic radicals in this town. They captured Fardi and cut off his head. He had a cross hanging from his neck, and they stuck it into his stomach. That was very evil. After 5 days, the military captured these people and killed them. The mother said, "Please, this is not right. I forgive them because these people also have mothers. Their mothers are going to cry. We as Christians must forgive. Please, this is not right."
The people that come to Austria and want to settle themselves in this country need friends. They need friends to take them in,
He and his family invited us into their home. We stayed one day together in his apartment.
Amal must offer people that come here the opportunity to establish themselves in Austria from a human point of view so that they can be integrated into Austrian society.
The families have come to know each other in a way that if it weren't like this, they would never have been able to. This is a great gift, and what's more, a surprise for us. I feel that we haven't done much. We only became friends with Imad and Gadir, and since then, we have grown as people.
Friedrich Kummer is a prestigious doctor from Austria and a friend of Gordian. He saw that he could help professionals learn scientific terminology so they could go back to doing their jobs.
I have found myself with educated people and can explain to my students how to say scientific terms in German. But they don't hear in their language classes.
Anjem is an odontologist. They set off a bomb in his office because he was Christian. He had to escape with his family. He is not being trained to rebuild his life.
I worked as a dentist in Syria for 10 years in my own office. We fled from Syria because of the war. Our possessions, our home, our business, everything was destroyed by Islamic radicals like ISIS and Jabhat al-Nusra. That is why I must learn the German language. I looked for someone to help me, and that is how I heard about Amal. I approached them, and they really helped me. They were very friendly, especially Dr. Kummer. He helped me a lot with medical vocabulary in German.
Put your heart into it, and then it will give life to many people who find themselves alone, helpless, without a word of affection, without a smile, without an affectionate look. Heart.
Franco is one of the 250 million people who used drugs at some point in 2016. Drug sales is a business that moves $500 billion worldwide and leaves 200,000 people dead from overdoses each year.
Tengo 23 años. Consumí con un problema de adicción a los 13 años.
I'm 23 years old. My addiction problem began when I was 13. I experienced various family problems. I lost my father first, then my mother. I have been living alone now for 6 years, a time in which I haven't been able to find direction because of the depression I was feeling. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find direction. I went through various rehabilitation centers. I was in a psychiatric ward. I was in an outpatient clinic also, in which I didn't feel really well. I couldn't find that happiness, that change in my life that I was always yearning for. That is, until I found out about Esperanza Viva movement in Tucumán through a doctor. It was there that I was directed to a parish, and in that parish, they welcomed me and began providing help and support to try to get me off drugs. Apart from the Esperanza Viva, they let me know about another work known as the Fazenda.
Franco was voluntarily admitted into one of the more 100 fazenda, from the Portuguese word for farm. These are centers of hope where the foundation of recovery is based on labor, living together, and spirituality.
Ustedes que están en la Facenda de la Esperanza, que están haciendo una experiencia de camino,
Don't
no
be
le
afraid of
tengan
life.
miedo a la vida,
Don't be afraid of
no le
standing.
tengan miedo a estar de pie.
If you fall down
Y si
sometime
alguna vez se caen,
because you forget about God,
porque se
it
olvidaron
happens
de
to all
Dios,
of
o
us.
porque
Because we're all
a
sinners
todos nos
and we've all
pasa,
fallen.
porque todos somos pecadores y todos hemos caído alguna vez.
Let yourselves get up. Take Jesus' hand again so he can lift you up. Boys, girls, don't stay down. Let them help you. And help one another. Between the two of you, help each other up.
Pues entre los dos ayúdense a levantarse.
Franco recovered after a year. 9 months later, he returned as a volunteer.
Siempre tuve el deseo, ¿no?, de querer ayudar a la gente, a las personas.
I always wanted to help the people who went through the same problem as me. I decided to come back to be a volunteer. I have been in Uruguay for 3 months. This really has given me my life back. I am very grateful to God and the people that are helping me on this new path of life, in this process that I have today.
Having things up and running and the day-to-day work on the fazendas is possible thanks to the help of volunteers who bring food and devote their time to whatever is needed.
For them, it's a new outlook. It's like being born again. It is like opening the door to happiness.
Many times, the solution starts with a dream. Then it's helping them, so that that dream really becomes a solution for their lives. It seems small, but at last it can change your life.
Yo empecé a drogarme con
I started taking drugs at the age of 13 or 14. The problem continued and several things happened. When I realized that I no longer had hope for a future, to study, to have a family, I went and asked my mother for help. She showed me this place and everything. So I said, let's try it, let's see. At first, I found everything quite difficult, but I discovered that I could be happy without drugs, without any addiction. Let's say that I learned how to be happy again. I knew a lot about God, but now I placed myself in God's hands.
Cuando tenía 16 años, yo usaba droga.
When I was 16, I began to use drugs, and then I came to know a priest who was a friend of my family. My parents asked this priest for help, and through him I came to know the Fazenda de la Esperanza. I completed the program, and afterwards I went to Italy to live for 9 months. However, I felt a desire to return to the Fazenda. Thus far, I am only volunteering there. The most important thing I came to know was the presence of God in our midst, God's love through the service of others. One gives and one receives. I particularly felt the presence of God in one of the brothers, independent of his flaws or of his religious convictions. I believe that he was special because he truly felt loved by God. I came to know one thing for sure. It is one thing to believe in God, but it is another to feel loved by him. One feels such love here at the Fazenda.
Sentirse amado por él. Y eso uno experimenta aquí, en la Fazenda.
Miguel approached God, and at World Youth Day in Krakow, he was able to tell his story to the Pope and discuss what he is doing now.
I recovered 10 years ago, and 3 years ago, I became responsible for the community of 33 persons in the Quo Vadis house at the Fazenda de la Esperanza in Cerro Chato, Uruguay.
Hace 3 años.
Do you remember what the Lord was saying? Ignam veni miteri interim, et quid volo nisiut ascendator. Now I'll translate it for you. I've come to set fire to the earth. What else would I want? The Lord has lit your heart with His divine fire, with His zeal, with His love, and with so many beautiful and good things. He spreads that fire to souls and from those to others. Let's make a bonfire that lights up the world, a bonfire of charity, of happiness, of purification, of good.